The cheers in the hall felt more like a farewell than a celebration. I kept my smile fixed, stepped quietly behind the partition, and listened. Then came my son's voice, cutting through the noise. In my 75th birthday, I heard my son say, "I hope this is his last one." So to the music or the clink of forks. It lived in my ribs like a splinter, not yet pulled, not yet seen. I lifted a plastic flute because everyone was watching, and because at 75 you learn how to steady a hand even when a voice wobbles. "Harold," someone called, "a blessing." "Present and accounted for," I said, and the room laughed the way rooms do when they've already been told what story they're in. Mark moved among the tables with a host's smile that belonged on a brochure. My son is good at arranging chairs, faces, and outcomes. Rebecca hovered at his shoulder, touching elbows, guiding guests toward the sheet cake as if kindness had a schedule. Mark said, slipping to my side. "Why don't you sit for a bit? Big night." "I stand for milestones," I told him. His smile pinched, then widened. Rebecca leaned in. "We want you comfortable." "I am, that's the problem," I said, and she let out a practiced laugh like a bell that only she could hear. The choir ladies were already at the punch bowl. "He looks thin," one said. "Mark's been a rock." "A rock on my chest," I murmured to the glass, and took nothing from it. The projector hiccuped. A pop. A smear of light, and the slide froze on a photo of me, holding a toolbox 20 years ago. An AV tech crouched at the cart. "Remote's touchy," he muttered. Mark was there in a breath. "Try channel 2, he said, pressing a button that wasn't offered to anyone else. The image obeyed. People clapped for electricity like it was compassion. I watched the sight lines, where the screens sat, the shadows on the far wall, the gap behind the folding partition. From the stage you could see everything. From the side hallway you could hear without being seen. The room had a geometry that favored anyone who knew how to stand in it. "Mr. Bennett," a neighbor said, pressing my elbow. 75, imagine. "I can," I said. "I do it one day at a time." Rebecca materialized with the gentle insistence of a nurse. Palms out. "Let's get you a chair." "You get you a chair," I said. "I'm meeting the room." She withdrew her hands, still smiling. "Of course." Ragazzi lifted his own flute. "Friends," he called, and voices softened. "If I could have your attention, briefly." There it was, his favorite shape, a circle of faces aimed at him. He told a story about my old Pontiac, how I'd rescued him from a snowbank with a tow strap and a curse I never said. He made me sound like a rescued relic, useful in a museum. People dabbed their eyes with napkins. I studied the bulletin board by the door. Hoa meeting, May 1st. Fellowship dinner, June 15th. Dates pinning me to a calendar I didn't arrange. "Speech," someone shouted. "Later," Mark said kind. "Dad's had a big day. We're keeping things light." Light as in manageable. A little boy cut the cake crooked and licked his finger. The frosting knife scraped a pan. The room carried on. I drifted toward the partition and listened to the air behind it. Nothing but the hum of the compressor on the soda machine and the tiny whir of the projector fan. Still, I logged the route in my bones. "Harold," said Deacon Ellis, clapping my shoulder, "you keeping out of trouble?" "I'm collecting it," I said. He took it as a joke. Mark returned with the careful steps men use in courtrooms and nurseries. "Toast time," he said. "One quick one." He raised his glass. "To the best father a son could ask for." There were cheers and a ragged clatter of plastic. I lifted mine, felt the thin rim give under my thumb, and set it down before it touched my mouth. Glass toast is for messages, I thought. This one wasn't mine. "Say something," Rebecca prodded, eyes bright. "I'm grateful for the hands that built this hall," I said, "and the ones that still can." Conformity, a few chuckles, a few nods. The projector showed a younger me installing shelves in a church pantry. The image jittered, then steadied. I thought of the AV tech's mutter. Touchy. Things that look steady often depend on a button you don't own. Mark leaned in, too close for the camera phones. We'll keep it short, okay? You always do, I said. His jaw worked, then relaxed. Heart pulse. Shame is a heat. It hardens into a tool if you hold it long enough. A chair behind my knees again. For balance, she said. Firefight, I said quietly. Her smile thinned. People worry. They will, I said, until they don't. The evening rolled on in miniature victories, declining a second slice, standing without swaying, letting younger arms carry coffee urns while I took inventory of exits and faces. I found the AV booth key hung on a lanyard by the curtain, watched who touched it and who pretended not to see. When the last round of applause dissolved into the scrape of chairs, Mark sank into the seat beside me, still glowing. You did great, he said. I breathed, I said. That too. He checked his phone under the table, the screen lighting his jaw from below. His thumb moved once. A text flashed up in the glass of the punch bowl as the reflections shifted. I caught half the words and all the meaning. We'll finalize Monday. The service corridor held its breath the way back rooms do. Soda machine humming, a coil of extension cord asleep on the floor, the air colder than the hall. I leaned on the wall, felt its paint catch my jacket, and heard my son's voice come around the partition like it was meant for me. Honestly, Mark said, exhale turning to laugh, I hope this is his last one. Rebecca's reply was a quick, sharp smile disguised as a whisper. Don't say that so loud. Why not? He's barely standing. When he's gone, the decisions will finally be mine. I put my palm against the cinder block until my ribs stopped arguing with each other. The corridor had one small mercy, no audience. Footsteps crossed behind them, then a little shuffling as Mark adjusted his host mask. When he stepped back into the hall, his voice rose bright. To the best father a son could ask for. Applause rolled. I stayed where I was, counting my breath to 4, then 3, then 2. Betrayal is a hot metal. If you grip it right, it cools into a tool. I took out my phone. Martha sat 3 houses over, a nurse with a spine like rebar and a laugh like a hymn. Could use your eyes on my meds, quietly. Martha, you okay? Me, not yet. Tonight there was talk. I need facts. Martha, I'm off at 10 tomorrow. I'll come by, bring all bottles. Me, and the tray. Martha, and your stubbornness. Me, that travels with me. I slid the phone away as the compressor cycled down. Betrayal cooled another degree. A caterer pushed a cart through, ice scooper rattling. The toad on Rebecca's shoulder brushed the cart. A white bag tipped into view. Refill adjustment stamped in cheerful blue. She caught it, smoothed it like a wrinkle in a dress, and moved on. Back near the door, 2 HOA regulars were taping a fresh notice over a faded one. Slap, smooth, slap. Public comment at the end again? One asked. Chair wants it tidy, the other said, easier to manage. Easier to bury, I said, passing. They pretended not to hear. The new card read May 1st in large type, pushed lower on the board than last week. A small thing unless you've been shoved to the end of a line before. I stepped into the hall in its warmth, put a hand on the coffee carafe to steady nothing, and watched my reflection in the chrome belly. Older, yes. Unowned, also yes. Rebecca materialized with a smile that had the right number of teeth. You tired? She asked, voice soft enough to be mistaken for care. Tired of being managed, I said. Everyone's noticed you're overwhelmed lately. Everyone reads from your script. Her eyes didn't blink. We're helping. You're rehearsing. She adjusted a stack of plates like the conversation was a napkin that needed folding. You'll thank us later. Anj, I'll speak when the room isn't staged. She smiled the way people do when they've already arranged your furniture. Mark cut across the floor toward me, the applause from his toast still clinging to him. Dad, he said lightly, big night, let's not overdo it. I'm pacing myself, I said. Good. And he reached under the tablecloth as if retrieving a dropped napkin. His hand came up with a small key fob, black plastic, no logo. He turned it over, once, twice, like a magician palming a coin, then slid it into his pocket without looking at me. I took the inventory again. Bulletin board with May 1 and June 15 pinned like thumbtacks through my calendar. The partition that hides more truth than it protects. my reflection in the carafe, and the line on my ribs cooling, straightening. Heart pulse, hurt turned useful is the only kind I can afford. Northwestern, need anything? Mark asked. Just my name, I said, and my say. That's what I'm here for, he said. That's what I'm here for, I repeated, and his smile misfired by a millimeter. They pushed me toward the little stage as if steps were softer when taken in a spotlight. Mark raised his glass. The room obeyed. To the best father a son could ask for, he said. Abolish erupted like a chore he'd timed. I lifted my plastic flute and felt the rim flex under my thumb. I kept it high long enough for the photos and set it down untouched. Say a word, Harold, someone called. I stepped toward the mic. The PA gave a sharp squeal that made 3 tables flinch. Mark was there in a blink, palm over the mesh, the other hand on my elbow. We'll keep Dad resting, he said cheerful. Plenty of stories another night. Plenty, I said, and the word felt like a receipt. He guided the mic back to its stand. The AV tech glanced at him for cues the way a driver watches a cop's hands. People resumed eating like the squeal had announced a plan rather than a glitch. I scanned the room. Sight lines from the stage to the screen, the narrow alley behind the folding partition, the booth curtain with its dangling lanyard. If a room is a machine, the buttons tell you who's allowed to speak. Rebecca swam through the crowd, collecting plates and thanks. Dad, sit, please. I stand for milestones, I said again, softer as if we were practicing lines. Everyone's here for you, she said. Then let them see me, I said. Her smile stuck. The slideshow rolled. Me with a toolbox, me painting a fence, me grinning under a ball cap that knew more summers than I do now. The projector hiccuped, then corrected. I started counting beats between images, 1, 2, imagining the time it would take to fade to black. On my way down from the stage, I passed a neighbor shrugging into a jacket with a Porch Cam brand patch. He tugged a Velcro tab. It rasped like sand. These eyes catch everything, he joked. I'm counting on it, I said, and he laughed without asking what I meant. Bored by the door, I pulled my pocket planner. HOA, May 1. Fellowship dinner, June 15. I circled both. The first would teach me how they bury voices. The second would give me a room worth speaking in. Tay, couple I'd known since Rebecca started wearing heels, offered to drive me. So Mark can tear down without worry. I came standing, I said. I'll leave standing. They jingled keys anyway. Pity travels with a key ring. Back near the tables, Harold the exhibit rejoined the exhibit. Mark met me with a stage whisper. Don't make this hard. You already did, I said, and watched the words land and disappear behind his teeth. Heart pulse. Humiliation is a forge. I walked through it and came out with a plan. He smiled for the crowd and adjusted my jacket like a father adjusts a boy's collar. Then he leaned toward the AV cart, where the tech waited half a step back. Thanks for earlier, Mark said softly. Got that file? A USB into Mark's palm as if passing communion. Mark pocketed it without looking, then clapped the man on the shoulder and turned to thank a table of donors, the host again, the room, his instrument. Tarry, then I watched his face. The song had changed keys. I could hear it. Martha set the pill tray between us like a chessboard. The kitchen window threw a bright square onto the table. The bottles stood in it like pieces, waiting for rules. Start with what you actually swallowed today, she said. I turned a cap, shook out a tablet, and held it to the light. Color's wrong. Shape too, Martha said, already opening a zip bag. We're not guessing. We're documenting. Buy the book, I said. Or I walk, she said, not unkindly. She wrote in block letters across the top edge, then rotated the bag. I want my initials over the seam so if anyone opens it, we'll see it. Chain of custody, I said. Lid the pill inside. Say the date and AM out loud. April 10th, morning dose. Plastic, then press the Sharpie across the seal until the ink bled through. MW cross plastic to plastic, a single unbroken mark. Page number 1, she said, goes into the shoebox. You keep the shoebox in plain sight, no cupboards. Why plain sight? So when someone touches it, they think they're clever, she said. And will know. I snapped a still with my phone. One picture, no codes. She nodded. One picture is enough. The fridge hummed. I taped a pharmacy printout next to a coupon for peaches. Refill due, April 28th. A date is a quiet threat if you know how to read it. My phone lit on the table. Mark. Hey, Dad, he said, voice bright. Doctor and I adjusted your dose. Safer this way. Tea mine, I said. Policing, then the careful tone he uses with witnesses and small animals. It's just easier if I handle it. I'll handle my life, I said. He exhaled like a smile and hung up. Martha didn't look up. He often calls during pill time. Lately he calls at the times that help him. Colbert, she uncapped the Sharpie again and handed it to me. Your turn. My handwriting is ugly. Ugly is honest. She pointed at the second bag. We do AM, noon, PM, and any extras he brings. And you say it out loud so the camera hears you. Comey, what camera? She tapped my cardigan. We'll get you one that doesn't show. For now, phone on the shelf, mic toward the table. Position through the tray. Her notes were spare. No dosage codes. No lot numbers on the page. Just what, when, and who was present. My kitchen felt like a small lab where dignity could be measured if we wrote it down. Heart pulse. They wrote me out on paper. I'll write myself back. To the urgent care annex because she wanted a neutral set of eyes to look at the med list, even if they refused to talk. The lobby smelled like lemon and old winter. A physician assistant leaned over the counter in a way that knocked down sentences before they stood. Hi, I said. I need my current med sheet. I'm verifying what I'm taking. Scholarships. Scanned the screen. Your power of attorney is on file. Your son handles these requests. My name handles my life, I said. He tilted his head. We have to respect the POA. You have to respect me, I said, calm enough to be heard. Martha's presence made the clerk pick his words. We can't disclose without the POA holder, he said finally. You can file a request for access. Print the form, I said. He slid paper across without meeting my eye. As I filled in the blanks, the AV tech from the church party held the door for a delivery, eyebrows up in recognition. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. We stepped back into the bright day. On the way home, Martha cut through the church lot. Habit, not route. The choir women stood by the side door, hymn fragments leaking into the air. That's him, one whispered. Mark says he's not safe to drive. Drove us to choir, the other said. Times changed, the first murmured. She adjusted a name tag. I read it and put it away in my head. Martha's jaw tightened. People love a script. They're reading the one he handed out, I said. Then we'll publish our own, she said. And that made me laugh once, a short, clean sound. Back at the kitchen, she lifted baggie number 1 from the shoebox, like it was a small certificate. This is how we talk now, she said, tapping her initials, bridging the plastic. One bag at a time. We went back to the annex to leave the access request. The PA took it without ceremony, eyes skimming past me to the next customer. As he slid the paper into a tray, his tone shifted into neutral courtesy. Your son already picked up the revised script, he said, and his glance flicked not to me but toward the AV tech. Martha slid a small velvet box across her coffee table like jewelry. Inside, not diamonds, just a black button with a pin back and a secret. Clipped it here, she said, tapping the seam of my cardigan. Don't straighten it if someone notices. Let it be crooked. It offends my sensibilities, I said. Good. Offense is memorable, she said, and pressed the back until the metal sighed into the knit. A tiny light blinked once and vanished. She moved to the kitchen, set a phone face down under the table, then put a coffee mug above it. Mic tunnels through ceramic. You sit here. Raise the mug if you need a second to think. Non-existent because thought the acting was your department. Today you're the actor, Harold. I'm stage crew. I lifted the mug, smelled the roast, and set it down. Glass toast, by another name, held, then refused. You sure this isn't overkill? She said, your son editor rooming it back. We drove to a clinic across town where nobody knew our last names. The nurse practitioner had silver hair and the kind of eyes that don't rush. She waved me into a chair and asked for 2 stories. One from 20 years ago, one from last week. I gave her the Pontiac winner in the HOA spring. Numbers? She asked. Lum in my head and spoke them aloud. She smiled into her notes. Who manages your medications? She asked. I do, I said. And others try. She didn't blink. Do you understand the risks of adjusting doses without your consent? I understand the risks of letting someone else define consent. She nodded once. All right. Montage. Printer hum, her pen signs in a firm, unbroken line. She slides a single page toward me. Ink signature glistening for half a breath, then dry. She keeps a copy, places mine in a folder. This letter states you're competent to consent to your own medical decisions, she said. If anyone wants to argue, they can call me. Their conscience, I said. Homeless have been out of service, she said, smiling. Back at my kitchen, Martha set the mug down over the phone again. We rehearse, you narrate the pill routine. Place, sip, spit if necessary. That's the only routine I trust. Demolished. Again. I lined up the tray like a drill sergeant. Morning. Place. Noon. Place. Evening. Swallow only what matches. Extras. Bag. Say the date. April 13. Say who's present. Weddings. Harold Bennett and Martha Wells. Good, she said. If Rebecca or Mark stop by, we don't pick a fight. We pick a record. At dusk, the porch light came on with a soft click. Right on cue, Rebecca's sedan crunched into the drive. The button at my chest was a cold coin. She didn't knock, she was family. Brought a few supplements, she sang, holding up a white bag. Doctor thought it might help circulation. Uncontillating lies? I said mildly and stepped back so she had to choose whether to come farther. She did. Be difficult, take all your pills. I've taken enough. She placed a bottle on the table, then another. I labeled, Buckley, I can read, I said. Family tension exchange lit. Mark worries, she said. Mark manages, I said. You're overwhelmed, she said. Avierno, other ruled. That ends now. She smiled the way dentists do right before they show you their newest, most expensive gadget. The smile was unsettlingly perfect, the eyes contrasting against the white of the mouth as if a doll were talking to her. I don't need that, I replied plainly. She lifted her chin with a slight smile and said, I require one outing, and since as these lights they set alone what they look for morals. I'll pour water. I'm not toasting anything, I said, and didn't touch the glass. Her phone buzzed. He's on his way, she said, too casual. Then I'll set out an extra chair, I said, and the air tightened between us. She gathered her bag. At the door, she remembered to look concerned. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. Underestimated, I said. When she left, I stood in the quiet and listened to the refrigerator hum, the house breathing. Martha texted a thumbs up, audio bars looked healthy. We didn't celebrate, we watched. The doorbell camera pinged at 9:42. Later, I scrubbed the clip with my thumb. Mark's shape moved through the entry, half lit by the sidelight. He set a grocery sack on the console, then reached, casual as a habit, for the mail table. Fingers walked, closed, and pocketed something small and black. A patient portal key fob I'd left there in plain sight. He wiped a speck off the console with his sleeve and let himself out. I didn't rewind a second time. Some things you only need to see once to know where they go in your ledger. Heart pulse. If they need me weak, I will perform, until the performance becomes proof. The HOA clubhouse smelled like coffee and carpet cleaner. I signed my name on the public comment sheet and sat under a framed photo of last summer's block party. Everyone smiling at a grill I'd fixed when the igniter failed. Mark took the floor first. Just a quick note about my father, he said, palms open. If he speaks tonight, please extend grace. He's been struggling. The chair nodded like a metronome. Duly noted. Mark clicked his laptop. A choppy clip stuttered through the speakers. My voice, bent and breathy, talking about pills and control, words cut mid-syllable to sound wild. Murmurs. A couple of neighbors studied the floor. I stood and kept my hands visible. That audio is edited. Let me talk for you, Mark said, already rising, voice gentle. Dad, sit, please. You already are, I said. That's the problem. A polite cough from the dais. We're tight on time, the chair said. Public comment will be brief. I'm not a topic, I said, keeping my tone slow. I'm a neighbor. Thank you, Mr. Bennett, the chair said. which is what people say when they mean that's enough. The room broke into side conversations that sounded like pity with sugar on it. I walked out before my voice shook and into the cool night where the air wasn't curated. Dale, the porch cam neighbor, fell in beside me near the shrubs. He kept his eyes on the parking lot. "Don't argue in there," he murmured. "Come see me tomorrow." "I need the raw," I said. "I might have something clean from the birthday, outside," he said. The Velcro on his cuff rasped. "Bring a thumb drive, or just bring yourself." I remember dates. I nodded once. Tomorrow, that night. Inside, the chair tapped the gavel to adjourn. I went back to the desk because losing politely is still losing, and I preferred receipts. "Entrenched. Request," I said. Wilmington Ront desk volunteer slid a half sheet toward me. I printed my name and the words "Audio Files, Played April Meeting," and handed it back. She stamped it with a bored thump. Received, April 20, 7:52 p.m. I watched the ink settle and didn't ask for anything else. Sparkle appeared at my shoulder, smile soft as lint. "Dad, this is embarrassing. Let me handle communications." "Handling is why I'm here," I said. "Ha's gone at the stamp." "This creates work for the chair." "It creates work for the truth," I said. Gangam closer, voice dropping. "People are trying to help you." "Bobierno, they're trying to stage me," I said. "You're very good at stages." His jaw flexed. "We'll talk at home. We'll talk where the record is," I said. He left it at that, which was its own kind of admission. On my way out, I passed the corkboard. Next HOA, May 29th. I took a photo with my phone, just the words, not the numbers, then deleted the image and took it again so the flash wouldn't glare. Habit from a life of fixing things. If it matters, do it right twice. I poured myself thin coffee from a silver urn and carried the styrofoam cup to the trash untouched. Glass toast in cheaper clothes. In the doorway, the chair intercepted me, smile managerial. "Mr. Bennett," she said, sliding a brochure across the welcome table. "Wellness resources might be useful." I looked at the trifle without touching it. "What I need is unedited audio. We try to keep meetings tidy." "Sets," I said. "Truth is messy." Fled on the edge of the table. I left it there too. Heart pulse. Shame burns. I temper it into steel. The elder law office smelled like paper and lemon oil, the way rooms do when signatures have weight. The attorney listened without interrupting, one finger on the spine of a thin statute book. "You brought me a start," she said when I finished. Martha's med log, my own notes, the memory of Mark's toast still hanging like smoke. "A start," I said, "and a problem." She flipped to my photocopied competency letter and nodded. "This helps. The POA your son filed, it's sloppy. Witness line is suspect and there's no contemporaneous capacity evaluation attached." She looked up. "We'll file a challenge and request a temporary protective order. If granted, he can't act under that POA until a hearing." I shamed her water carafe as she poured. My face appeared in it steadier than I felt. "What does it cost me?" I asked. "Time and courage," she said. "We'll carry the rest." Milage. Stage. A paralegal assembles a slim packet. The attorney dictates 2 precise lines. A runner vanishes down the hall. My name is spelled carefully. Then again. No numbers leave anyone's mouth. Say. At the clerk's window, the packet slid under glass. The clerk read, stamped, and pushed a single card back toward me. Hearing date, May 27, 9 a.m. The clerk's stamp hit the corner with a flat authority that needed no speech. I held the card between 2 fingers like it might run. "Thank you." "Bring ID that morning," the clerk said, already reaching for the next file. Outside, the attorneyer for her office and one for mine. "The order should post today. Until the hearing, your son is restrained from acting under that POA. If he pushes, call me. Don't argue." "I prefer records to arguments," I said. "Good," she said. "We'll have both." Back home, I pinned the hearing notice to the fridge with a chipped magnet from an antique store. The date stared back, a clean clock that didn't blink. I stood there until my shoulders dropped. Heart pulse. On paper, I exist again. Evening fell the way it does in reliable neighborhoods. Sprinklers, a dog, the same porch lights, the same lies. Martha arrived with her calm that made rooms less slippery. "Say it out loud, like before," she said, setting the phone beneath the table, mug over mic. We worked the tray. She spoke each seal as she pressed the Sharpie across it. I didn't repeat the numbers she murmured. The shoebox took another bag like a small truth being banked. A knock at the open door. Mark didn't wait for an answer. Sons rarely do. "Quick thing," he said, stepping into the kitchen with the smile he uses on clients who haven't decided yet. A form sat on his clipboard. "Doctor wants this update signed so I can keep your portal current." "I'm done signing things I didn't read," I said. He set the clipboard down anyway, nudging aside the mug by a millimeter. "It's routine." "Routine is how people steal minutes," I said. "Dad, paper cuts both ways," I said. He looked at Martha as if she were furniture. "We'll take some air, okay?" "We're fine in here," Martha said, not looking up. She dated the edge of the new bag and bridged the seal with her initials. Mark smiled as if we were all being difficult together. "The hearing will just confuse people. Let me manage this." "You're restrained from acting under that POA until we're heard," I said. He blinked. "Who told you that?" "The stamp did," I said, tapping the fridge. Silence pools for one beat, then two. He collected his clipboard. "This is getting adversarial. It doesn't have to be." "It became adversarial the night you hoped I'd stop having birthdays," I said. His jaw twitched. He left the door open behind him. The porch light caught his shoulder as he went. Then nothing. Wreathed out. "Good line," she said. "It wasn't a line," I said. "It was arithmetic." We finished the routine. She washed her hands at the sink and patted my forearm dry with a dish towel like I was made of glass she refused to drop. "Call me if he brings anything new tonight," she said at the door. "I'll call you if he brings old things in new bottles," I said. When the house settled, my phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Dale lit the screen. "Found something. Parking lot audio from the birthday. Clean." Unleashed the hearing card a little higher and let the room memorize me standing there. Dale's garage smelled like solder and sawdust, the kind of air that keeps men honest. He cleared space on a scarred workbench and set down a small black case. "Up from your birthday," he said. Mike never left the porch post. I didn't touch the file. Secured the lid open. Inside, an SD card nested in foam like a tooth. A yellow sticky clung to the case. May 2nd, PM in Dale's block letters. I said, "Page, we listened to the night. Tires on gravel, laughter diluted by air. Then my son's voice, crisp even in the open. Honestly, I hope this is his last one. No edits, no stutter." Dale didn't look at me. "Matches the device's internal clock. I'll email vendor metadata and checksum language, but I'm not making this a museum. You keep the original." I said, "Right," he said. "Image it at home. Seal the card and don't bring the original back out unless your lawyer says so." He offered a can from a cooler. "Soda?" I lifted it an inch and set it beside the vise. Glass toast by aluminum. I wasn't toasting anything yet. We talked in practicals for a minute. Where to store, what to say if asked, how to avoid turning truth into a performance. Then I slid the SD into a small sleeve I'd brought and snapped the case shut. On Main Street, the pharmacy's big window pitched, "Refill due May 5th, with a smiling stock photo. Inside, the counter bell dinged. A tech in a neat polo scanned his screen, then shook his head. "Your son already picked up the refill," he said. "I'll pick up my life," I said. "Print me my current list." "Can't," he said, customer service tone welded on. "POA on file, talk to him." "Unprotected's otherwise," I said, and let the sentence sit. He didn't ask for proof. He just stared past me at the next wristband waiting to be scanned. My phone buzzed. "Mark. Swung by pharmacy, saved you the trip. Right to?" "Mark. Let me handle errands. Focus on rest and boundaries." The text slid a brochure about heart health across the counter without meeting my eye. I left it where it landed. At the curb, a church acquaintance spotted me and waved with both hands. "Blackmail. Mark's taking such good care of you," she said. "He thinks so," I said. "He said you hate errands now. We can always run them for you." I still like choosing my own feet, I said. She blinked, rearranged her smile, and told me about the barbecue being planned for later in the month. Then the bus took her story down the street. I walked home and did the work. At my desk, I imaged the SD to my hard drive, uploaded the copy to the attorney's secure folder, then slid the original into a small envelope. Dale printed his name, and I printed mine across the flap. We both pressed a thumb to it. I tucked it into the shoebox beside baggie 001. Montage over. Nothing pretty, just correct. Calmer than pity, let it play. My phone chimed again. Group thread with 3 neighbors and the Reverend's admin. Neighborhood barbecue, May 18. I saved it under watch list and stared at the date until the screen dimmed. The records counter woke with the little whir printers make when they sense a wallet. A receptionist looked up and smiled like we were old friends. "Oh, you were just here with your son the other day." Tenized, "I'm here with myself," I said. "Hey, we usually route portal questions through the POA," she said, eyes flicking to the screen. "I filed a right of access," I said. "Print the pages with my name and his device." She stamped the corner with a neat, bored thump. "Received." "I can print limited logs if you'll wait," she said, lowering her voice. The printer spooled. A laser fan breathed out paper-warm air. Heart pulse. They use portals as doors. I found the hinge. A clerk in back carried out a thin stack. We moved to a side table. I didn't read out codes or times. I looked for the shape. Access after the challenge date. The pattern was there, clean as a boot print. I called the attorney's paralegal on speaker. "Pages show post-challenge access," I said. "Actionable," she said. "We'll scan while you watch. You keep the originals. Chain is yours." The receptionist brought a cone cup. I held it and crushed it once in my fist, then set it on the tray, untouched. Glass/toast in paper close. We walked the pages to a little scanner. The paralegal had me initial the back of each, after she did. The clerk initialed the envelope. I took one photo, the stamp on my request, nothing else. Then I slid the stack into my folder and closed it like a book I plan to finish later. Back home, a bulletin slid under my door, caught my shoe. Assisted living intake, May 20th, 10 a.m. The letters tried to sound kind. I set it on the counter without touching the corner that wanted to hook my thumb. I called Martha. "Logs show he went in after the challenge." "Qualcomm, good," she said. "Say it exactly like that if anyone asks. No numbers." "Legal exactly like that," I echoed. Evening brought Rebecca the way weather brings humidity, arriving and insisting without asking. She held a glossy brochure against her chest like a hymn book. "Quick visit," she said brightly. "We toured a lovely place. They have gardens and board game nights." "I have a garden," I said, "and a chess set." "This is kind placement, Harold. It's time." "It's time I choose," I said. Her smile stayed on, but the corners pulled tight. "Everyone worries. Everyone repeats you," I said. She set the brochure on the mail table and peeled a sticky note from her phone case. "We'll handle this kindly," she wrote in neat teacher letters and pressed it on the cover. "Family tension exchange lit. Abolish can sign you in for the intake," she said. "Rehabilit name," I said. "You're making this adversarial. You're making it convenient." She took a breath like she was about to sing and didn't. "Read it," she said, tapping the brochure. "I prefer facts to folds," I said. Shameful the brochure there like a place card, then stood in the doorway, looking at the room like she could move the furniture by blinking. "We'll talk after May 20, she said. "We'll talk in a room I choose," I said. She left. The house exhaled. I set 2 juice glasses on the counter, one for me, one for the idea of kindness, and left one untouched. Then I opened my folder and looked at the stack of logs without seeing the numbers, only the shape. The phone buzzed, a paralegal text. "Scans uploaded, clean. Will cite post-challenge access, full stop." I replied, "Copy, originals with me." I did not open the brochure. I didn't have to. It already said more than it meant. Demolished Hall was empty except for the hum of the projector fan and the smell of coffee from Sunday that never really leaves. Dale met me by the curtain, lanyard looped around 2 fingers. "Flushing, You want the room, he said. You learn the booth. Chung two steps into a little dark heaven, sliders, toggles, a dim screen with a chapel's worth of menus. He pointed, patient. Position. That's your fade to black. This mutes the handhelds. Here's the master. If they try to talk over you, kill the aux before the mains. I thought the Lord handled mics, I said. He expects helpers, Dale said. He slid a fader down. The projector sighed to black, then back to life. June 15, you run this or I do. Your call. My call, I said. The word fit. The church admin poked in, keys jangling like a reminder. Everything okay, gentlemen? Just a walkthrough, Dale said. She smiled the way people smile when paperwork is nearby. You know Mark usually handles the booth for big events? Not on June 15, I said. A pause. We try to avoid surprises. Surprises are what happen when only one person holds a switch, I said. She considered me as if I'd wandered somewhere off limits. We'll need the reservation confirmed. It's confirmed, I said. By me. On the console, one fingertip resting lightly on the blackout switch in a way that said we were all just talking. She glanced at the clipboard on the wall. I see an earlier AV access note for that date. Close, I see a room that belongs to the church, I said, and a microphone that is not a guardian. Her mouth twitched at that. I'll make a note. Make it to me, I said, and left it to hang. She backed out with a nod, politeness reholstered. Dale leaned close. When you speak, breathe. Tap the lectern once, then go. Don't wait for permission. I practiced once, hand on the wood, a heartbeat of silence, then breath. The booth felt less like a tower and more like a tool chest I'd finally found the right drawer in. In the reflection of the water pitcher on the side table, my face steadied. Heart pulse. Control the room. The truth will carry itself. We left by the side door. I called the law firm from the parking lot. The receptionist answered in a voice trained to erase nouns. I need to report an ethics concern regarding an attorney, I said. We route all such concerns to our general counsel inbox, she said. We do not comment on employees. I don't need comment, I said. I need a record. At the post office, I stacked the elements the attorney had approved, short letter, index of exhibits, nothing emotional, and slid the packet across. Certified, I said. The clerk stamped the small green slip. The hand came down, the ink came up, and one word sat there like a little gate. Certified. I didn't ask for a tracking number. I didn't need any more digits in the room. Anything else? The clerk asked. That'll do, I said, and pocketed the receipt like a warrant made of paper. Back home, the corkboard had become my weather map. I pinned a new tricard across the center in block letters. May 20, May 27, June 15. A line connected them in my mind, the way fences connect posts. I stood back. The house felt taller. Dale texted a photo of the booth with 3 arrows drawn in. Blackout, aux, master, practice. I slid my phone under the mug on the kitchen table and spoke the sequence aloud once for no one but the walls. Tia, the church admin called just before dinner, voice friendly over caution tape. Just confirming, we'll have someone here to open the booth on the 15th. That someone is already trained, I said. Please don't move the keys without telling me. Keys, she said. We don't move it last month, I said, remembering the party flicker, the way the room obeyed Mark's fingers. This month, you don't. We'll make sure everything is in place, she said, defaulting to comfort. Good, I said. So will I. The tricard again. In the kitchen light, the dates read like 3 notes on a staff. If I played them in order, the song would end where it should. On my way out of the church earlier, the admin had tried to press the key sign-out slip toward me. Habit. I let it sit on the desk between us until she retracted it. Some paper belongs to other hands. Martha read from her notebook in the even tone of a nurse giving discharge instructions. Take observed pills presented by Rebecca on April 10th and 13th, she said. Appearance inconsistent with labeled meds. Witnessed refusal until verification. Noted calls coinciding with pill times. Plain and short, I said. Plain and short wins, she said, laying a single page on my kitchen table. The corkboard tricard, May 20, May 27, June 15, hung in the background like a metronome that had learned my name. My phone buzzed. Mark, let's do a support meeting. Reverend can sit in. Me. No. Mark, don't involve neighbors. Me. Truth doesn't ask for your permission slip. He stopped texting. The room felt cleaner. Reserve speakerphone button and called the attorney. She picked up on the second ring. Affidavit is drafted, I said. Good. Notary at 9 tomorrow, courthouse lobby, she said. Bring only the affidavit, no extras. If you're pushed tonight, do not engage. Copy, I said. Breathe, sign, sleep, she said, and the line clicked off. I set the phone face down. The mug over it made a small fort for the truth. Martha squared the page with a table's edge. One read through together, she said. No flourishes. She read. I listened to the words I'd been living come back in a voice that could swear to them. When she finished, she uncapped the pen and poised it above the line. Ready? She asked. Ready, I said. He dated the page. In the frame of the wall clock hung behind her shoulder, no numbers needed, just the round face watching. She signed in a firm, unbroken line. Camouflage. Paper can be a spine if you hold it right. Other we notarize, she said, blowing once across the ink out of old habit. I slid the page into the packet and set a water glass on top to hold it flat. The glass didn't toast anything. It anchored it. The courthouse lobby had the hollow echo of decisions. Martha and I stood at a high counter where pens were chained like tiny leashes. The notary glanced over the affidavit. Raise your right hand. Martha did. I did too, out of habit. Do you swear the statements are true to the best of your knowledge and belief? I do, Martha said, voice steady as a metronome. A quick press, a round seal, the whisper of a ledger line. We didn't admire anything, we moved. Clerk's window next, I said. The filing clerk looked up with the same patience a bank teller gives a rainy line. I slid the petition packet forward. Challenging authority under a POA, I said. He flipped the top page, skimmed, and nodded once. One moment. Behind him, a wall calendar had a banner across the week I already knew. May 27. The numbers didn't need saying. They sat there like a horizon line. The clerk returned, set a small square of paper on the counter, and brought his hand down with the flat certainty of an answer. Of day, he said, sliding the petition receipt back. The clerk's stamp sat on it like a door closing, filed. I picked it up with 2 fingers. Thank you. Fingered, he was already reaching. I wanted efficiency more than sympathy. Waged the water cooler. Martha pulled a cone cup for me. I held it, set it down untouched, and watched the ripple settle. My name, my oath, my filing, no one else's. Outside, the air felt truer. We walked in step until our shadows overlapped, and then didn't. You good? She asked. I'm straightened, I said. Tomorrow rest, she said. Then, we start counting down, out loud. Her bus hissed to a stop and took her into the afternoon. At home, the tricard on the corkboard, May 20th, May 27, June 15, watched me cross the kitchen. I set the filed receipt beside the shoebox for a second, then slid it into the folder and closed the cover like a lid on something that shouldn't spill. The porch steps answered under my shoes. I opened the main door and left the storm door closed. Rebecca's white bag swung from her wrist like a bell. Good timing, she said. I brought your evening pills. I'm set, I said, voice even. These are part of the new plan the doctor suggested. Blackmail, I said. It begins with me. She tried the inner handle, found it locked, looked at me through glass that made her eyes into small coins. Also, intake is scheduled, she said. They had a slot. You don't schedule my dignity, I said. Family tension exchange lit. Harold, this is care, she said. This is convenience, I said. Mark and you have each other. I have me. Her mouth made a decision and released it. We'll be in touch, she said, stepping back, bag still swinging. I let the door stay a door. A minute later, my phone ticked on the hall table. Rebecca, May 20 confirmed. I watched the bubbles sit there like weather. I didn't reply. The park smelled like charcoal and cut grass. A vinyl banner drooped between 2 poles. Saturday, May 18. Kids chased bubbles. Adults chased a story they'd already agreed on. Mark worked the crowd with a host's grin and a clipboard tucked under his arm like a holster. Rebecca floated beside him, dispensing napkins and phrases that sounded like care and landed like verdicts. "Harold," someone called. "So good you made it out." "I live out," I said. Wilmington tapped a fork to a plastic cup. "Friends," he said. "A moment." The picnic shelter quieted. "Let's raise one for my dad. Pillar of the block, fixer of everything, stubborn in the best way. We love him. And because we love him, we're helping with some next steps." A dozen red cups lifted. The one nearest me sloshed. A stripe of sticky punch ran down my shirt and belly like a child's joke with adult timing. "Sorry," a neighbor winced. "It's only sugar," I said, and didn't touch the napkin offered. "I won't drink what they pour for me." Rebecca took the air the way she takes kitchen drawers, gently, with ownership. "We've got a plan to keep Harold safe. There's an intake Monday, just a visit, and the doctor suggested a few adjustments." "Intake Monday," another neighbor repeated, thumbs already working a phone as if the calendar needed rehearsing. Mark kept his tone low and reasonable for the elders, bright for the middle-aged, patient for me. "If anyone sees Dad looking lost," he said, "just call me directly. No need to embarrass him." "Or you," I said. He smiled without teeth. "We're working with the Reverend too, maybe a wellness check so everyone can feel confident." "Confidence isn't a substitute for consent," I said. Laughter nearby, not at the line, at the fact I could still make one. The Reverend clasped my shoulder, softness and distance in the same hand. "Brother Harold, we all want what's best." "I believe you," I said. "I just don't believe your definition has room for me." Rebecca appeared with a white bag. Even outdoors, she found a way to make a counter. "Afternoon pills," she said, "you forgot at home. Flush them there on purpose." Put the bag on the picnic table, centered. "Let's not be difficult. Let's not be convenient," I said. Family tension exchange lit. "Just take them now," she said. "After Monday we can settle a routine," Mark added. "I settle my life," I said. She said, "It's safer if I decide," I said. A choir lady patted my elbow. "You're blessed to have a son so involved." "He's involved," I said. "That's one word." A trio of neighbors drifted close enough to overhear and far enough to pretend they didn't. "Intake Monday," one of them echoed again, in case the sky had missed it. Fifted his cup again. "To Dad." I lifted nothing. The spilled punch dried sticky on my shirt. Glass, toast, red, and cheap. Dale stood at the grill, tongs up, eyes doing the polite math of timing and distance. The shelter's posts made a narrow corridor between us. I used it like a hallway. "You eat?" he asked, voice for me, volume for the air. "I'm here for the view," I said, "and a favor." He flipped a burger, let the sizzle cover a beat, and turned toward the edge of the shelter where the light was thinner. I took an envelope from inside my jacket, plain, sealed, no names on the front, and held it at eye level between us like a small, square truth. "Hold this for June 15, I said. He didn't reach fast. Good men don't. He looked at my face first, then the line of the seal, then my face again. He took it with 2 fingers and slid it under the grill tray, behind the tin foil, where nothing valuable ever goes unless it is. Across the tables, Mark's head turned, that predator's quarter second when the room's energy shifts, and a host doesn't know why. He stepped around a stroller, then a cooler, and arrived one breath late. "What's that?" he asked, voice light, eyes not. "An old bill," Dale said deadpan. "Harold pays his debts." Mark laughed like a good sport. "We love a responsible neighbor." His gaze stuck for a fraction on the tray's edge, then unhooked. He turned to someone asking about games and took the conversation away with him. The Reverend drifted back into our ambit. "Harold, we'll pray Monday goes smoothly. Powerless is for Mondays too," I said, and for saying no. He didn't argue. He quoted something about gentle answers and moved on. A child ran past with a plate, the plate flipped. Red cup toppled into a perfect splash show across my shoes. The crowd chuckled without malice. A camera phone lifted, then lowered when I looked at it. Rebecca slid in again, voice pitched to seem private and meant to be heard. "We'll swing by 10 minutes early on Monday," she said. "Less stress if you ride with us." "On Monday," I said, "and if I ride anywhere, it's because I chose the seat." Mark touched the small of her back like he was tuning her. "We'll coordinate after," he told me. "No scenes today." "No scenes," I said, and let the words sit on the table like an empty plate. A neighbor I'd coached through a mortgage once brought me a folding chair. "Ernest, sit a spell." "I stand better," I said, but I took the chair so his kindness didn't break in his hands. The sun slid down to the fence line, conversations braided and unbraided. Every few minutes I heard the phrase, "Intake Monday," like a metronome someone had set to just off beat. I let it count down without owning it. Dale drifted past, tongs like an alibi. He didn't look at me. He didn't have to. The envelope had changed hands. That was the math. Heart pulse. They crowd me with kindness. I'll walk out with proof. Take. When the cleanup started, Mark shook trash bags, the universal signal for control dressed as help. He clapped my shoulder. "Proud of you for coming out," he said. "I live out," I said again. He smiled like he had the line now, too. As people filtered toward the parking lot, I watched him watch me. He'd noticed something. He didn't know what. The feeling was mutual. I thanked the grill, I thanked the air, I thanked Dale without saying anything. Then I walked home in a shirt that smelled like sugar and smoke, not looking back at the banner that said what day it was. The date could speak for itself. At 9:45, the porch was already a stage. I plugged the charger into the hall outlet and watched its tiny eye disappear into plastic. From that angle, the lens saw the storm door, the front mat, and half the living room, with the hearing notice magnet catching light on the fridge. My phone buzzed. "Martha. If pressured, repeat. I do not consent." Me. Copy. Chapter 20 Wave. The phone chimed again at the top of the hour. Intake. 10 a.m. It wasn't a summons. It was a clock. The VIN nosed to the mala, Shauna polo shirt and clipboard, led with a smile that had practice behind it. Mark and Rebecca flanked her, equal parts warmth and victory. Two neighbors paused mid-walk, then pretended to check their mail. "Morning, Mr. Bennett," Shauna said. "We'll be quick. Just consent forms and a tour." "I do not consent," I said. "No forms, no tour?" "Trimer. Just a ride, Dad," Mark added, voice low, almost tender. "We'll see if it's a fit." "Consent isn't a rideshare," I said. Rebecca lifted a paper cup of water from a tote and set it on the rail, as if we were halfway through agreeing. "Let's start with your meds so you're steady." "I'm steady," I said. I looked at the cup and left it untouched. Shauna glanced at Mark, then back to me. "We don't want to make this adversarial." "What it became adversarial the day he filed papers I didn't authorize," I said. "Bilingual, Dad," Mark murmured. "Please don't do this on the porch." "You brought the porch," I said. "You brought the van." Rebecca softened her voice for the neighbors. "We're all just trying to keep you safe." "Your urgency isn't my emergency," I said. Shauna took a breath and tried a different door. "Okay, would you be willing to step inside so we can talk privately?" "Through a screen is private enough," I said, resting a hand on the storm door handle, closed, latch. Fiberglass even and didn't hide it. "Do I have your consent to proceed with intake?" she read. "No," I said. "You do not." I kept my tone slow, even, record-friendly. "Okay, noted," she said, tapping. "Refusal at 10:06. She looked up. "We can schedule a wellness check with the Reverend and your physician if that feels less abrupt." "Windshield, it feels like a trap," I said. "I'll meet people where I choose." Then Mark tried on concern like a jacket. "Dad, this is making you look difficult." "Better difficult than disposable," I said. Rebecca lifted the white bag I recognized too well. "Then at least take your morning pills now." "You family tension exchange lit." "Put them inside the door," she said. "Keep them in your bag," I said. 963. "Don't be dramatic. We're your family. I'm your father. That means I choose." The porch air had the quiet of a held breath. Across the street, a choir lady lingered with her dog longer than the dog required. The HOH hair turned the corner, then slowed, then pretended to text. "Fine," Mark said, switching keys. "If you won't ride, we'll ask for a wellness check today. Someone else can evaluate." "Ask," I said. They'll find me oriented and busy. With what? He said, a little laugh on the question. With my life, I said. Shauna tilted her head, careful again. We truly do want what's best for you. What's best for me is consent, I said, and you didn't bring any. Her eyes showed she heard it. She lowered the tablet, posture loosening a degree. Understood. I need to record that you refused. Would you like information to review? Leave whatever you like on the bench, I said. I won't be opening it today. A bead of wind lifted the corner of the welcome packet and set it down again. The paper cup left a ring on the rail. Mark pressed one more time, quiet enough to sound intimate. We're running out of options. You ran out when you took mine, I said. The storm door like a movie father too late at an airport. This isn't over. It's not even honest yet, I said. Shauna signaled the driver with 2 fingers, a small choreography learned from 100 porches. I'm logging refusal, she said aloud, and tapped again, meant for the record and for me. Mark pressed in bag and tried a smile on the way down the steps. We'll circle back, she said. Don't circle, I said. Listen. They moved to the van. The engine coughed, then settled. The neighbors pretended to lose interest, like a curtain falling in slow motion. I opened the main door and kept the storm door closed while I stood in the hall. On the fridge, the hearing notice magnet had slipped a fraction. I straightened it with 1 finger. Small order in a day designed for disorder. Built a funnel. I kept my feet. The van pulled away, tires whispering the way defeat tries to disguise itself as weather. Mark lingered 1 beat longer on the stoop, eyes on me through glass. This isn't over, he said again. I know, I said. See you where it counts. He stepped back. The packet thumped onto the porch bench. The cup stayed, ring widening as the paper softened. I left both unopened. Inside, the charger made no sound. It didn't need to. The room had the words it came for. The fellowship hall wore its best manners, folding chairs in rows, a poster on an easel. Fellowship dinner, June 15. I tapped the corner of the card with 1 finger as I passed, like a runner touching the sign that marks the finish. Dale waited by the booth, 2 fingers resting on blackout and AUX the way a pilot tests a yoke. I lifted a water glass at the lectern so everyone could see it, then set it untouched beside the mic. Tonight it wasn't a toast, it was an anchor. Mark rose first, quick as a reflex. Friends, he said, palms open. Thank you for loving my dad so well. Change is hard, but... I took the mic. I'll be brief, I said. I have receipts, then I'll sit. Polite laughter, nervous in the middle rows. The Reverend folded his hands. The HOA chair crossed hers. Rebecca smiled like a nurse. First, I said, the sentence that started this season. I nodded toward the booth. Dale slid AUX down and cued the file. The room went still. The speakers gave us gravel, then laughter diluted by night, then my son's voice clear and ordinary, cruel because it was ordinary. Honestly, I hope this is his last one. No stutter, no edit. A breath moved through the hall like the tide. Mark's head came up, smile already working. Out of context, he said. Joke at a quote. You confused access with ownership, I said even. To my voice, to my life, close quote. Unnins tried to take the aisle. I didn't let him have it. Second, I said, you've heard I'm confused. An independent clinician found me competent to consent to my own medical decisions. I didn't hold up the letter. I didn't have to. I kept my eyes on the people who had avoided them for a month. Third, I said, you've heard about pills. I looked to Martha. Would you read 1 line? She joined me at the lectern. The page in her hands flashed a round notary seal that caught the light and sat back down. Her voice was clean. I observed pills presented by Rebecca on April 10th and 13th. Appearance inconsistent with labeled meds. I witnessed Harold refuse until verification. She closed the page without flourish and stepped aside. Rebecca's smile lost its footing. We were trying to help, she said. He mixes things up. Misled the mixing, Martha said, still calm. Confined. I said, you've heard that my son manages my portal. After the court accepted my challenge, the portal was still accessed. We have logs, no numbers tonight, just the shape. A neighbor near the back, the one whose mortgage I'd once untangled, said softly, that's wrong. The church admin turned to the Reverend. The HOA chair's mouth thinned. Mark reached for calm like it was on a shelf. Dad, this is a lot for a dinner. It's the only room where you didn't edit the sound, I said. He tried a new key. I've only ever tried to protect you. By erasing me, I said. Protection don't mean ownership. Tonight I speak, and my name stands upright. I let the silence be a page. Then I spoke into it. A month ago, you told people I should be grateful you were taking over. I'm grateful for the neighbors who kept their eyes open. I'm grateful for the church that will hear this as a call to do better. I'm even grateful to be 76 and still capable of choosing my next hour. The Reverend stood. Mark, he said quietly, is there anything you want to say as a son? Fleeing for the first time in weeks, Mark looked like a person rather than a position. He glanced at Rebecca. She didn't have a line to hand him. He glanced at the admin. She had policy, not absolution. He looked at me. The room held him. He stepped toward the front without his clipboard. He started, and the word broke. He swallowed. I'm sorry, Dad. The sentence was small and true in the way truth always sounds smaller than a lie. His eyes dropped. He didn't reach for the mic. I nodded once. Not a pardon, an acknowledgement that the room had heard him. Then I turned to the booth and lifted 2 fingers. Dale touched blackout. The screen behind us faded to night. The mains softened. The hall held a breath that wasn't sure what to do without sound. We let the dark sit for a count of 2 and brought the lights back up. I set the mic down. The glass still sat there, catching the room untouched. Thin packet through the window like a bill you're finally ready to pay. The top page wore a square truth. Order entered. It didn't need an exclamation point. It had a stamp. Anything else today? The clerk asked, already not caring. Which is how I knew this part would hold. That's the thing, I said. Nothing else. Martha met me outside under a sky that had the decency to be ordinary. We walked to the clinic because I wanted this done on foot at the pace of a life resumed. At the counter, the same PA who had invoked the POA adjusted his tie to buy a second. I'm here to deliver the GAN here in 1 page on the counter. He read the first 2 lines, then the stamp, then didn't need the rest. We'll update the record, he said. I apologize for any confusion. You followed a paper that didn't belong to you, I said. Now you'll follow one that does. He nodded. Access under that POA is revoked. We'll require your signature only. Good, I said. Start now. Martha didn't gloat. She watched his hands make the right movements. When he slid a clipboard across automatically, she left it there. I signed on my side of the counter without giving him any extra paper to hold. At the pharmacy, the tech in the neat polo stared at the stamp first, then at me. We're sorry for the inconvenience, he said. It wasn't inconvenient, I said. It was wrong. I'll remove your son from authorized pickup, he said, clicking keys. Notifications will go to you. Add 1 more, I said, nodding at Martha. He looked at me for half a second like that might be unusual, then he nodded, typed and printed a small slip. I didn't keep the slip. I watched him shred it after the change posted. Peacefully. Justice is quiet paper that stops hands. At the church office, because history likes a memo. The admin sat straighter than the day in the booth. About last night, she began. I said, AV reservations will require 2 unrelated signers for events that involve public remarks. No single-point gatekeeping. Written in your binder. Today. Crear my eyes, then reached for a sheet. I'll draft it. No keys, I said. Sign out requires the same. No informal holds. Shuffled, scribbled the sentences that make rooms fair. We'll also add a note about posting unedited recordings when public comments are challenged, she said. That's the church I joined, I said. At the HOA, the chair met me in the hallway with a privacy voice. We'll correct the minutes, she said. We'll note that edited audio was played. We regret the tone. Note that I'm available for questions, I said, in the room, not as a topic. She nodded. More relief than apology. Fine. Corrections are built out of small materials. By afternoon, the house had the sound of itself again. The tri-card on the corkboard had done its job. I took it down and slid it into the shoebox with baggie number 001, the SD envelope, and the thin stack of receipts. I didn't lock the box. I didn't need to. Constrained, a car door shut outside. Footsteps on the walk paused like breath on a phone call. I opened the main door and left the storm door closed. Mark stood there with a ring of keys and a black fob in his palm. "I came to bring these back," he said. "House, mailbox, portal. Return isn't access," I said. He looked small in a way I didn't like seeing. "I thought I was protecting you." "Ugel, you were protecting the job you gave yourself," I said. "Here's the job I'm giving you. Ask before you touch my life." He nodded. "Can we talk?" he asked, voice thin as paper. "When you're ready to listen," I said. He set the ring and the fob on the console through the gap of the door. "I'm sorry," he added, quieter than the hall. "I heard you," I said. He went down the steps without a speech. The car pulled away like any car on a Tuesday. Inside, I laid the court order on the table and set a water glass on its corner to keep it flat while the fibers remembered they were mine now. My phone lit for a second with a new text marked, "Can we talk?" and dimmed again without my help. I stood in the doorway to the kitchen and listened to the room that had learned to hear me. It sounded like a house again. Justice didn't arrive with applause. It came in signatures, in doors that stayed shut when I said no, in a room that finally heard me. Patience turned my anger into a spine. If he once wished my birthday were my last one, I marked time on my own terms. I set the water glass on the order and listened to the quiet. A small, clean clink. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1 if you resonate with this story.